What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. Before we get going into this video, I have an announcement. Jersey unboxings, they're coming back, boys. I know I've said numerous times that I don't think I'm going to be buying more jerseys. I just always end up doing so. So I'm not going to tell you guys anymore if I'm not buying jerseys or not, because I just always do, no matter what. I have currently 2 jerseys coming from Ben H Sports right now as I speak, one of which has a name on it, and the other one will have a name very soon. And I have 2 jerseys that Hockey Authentic currently has right now in their possession, and they're putting names on, and they're going to send that back to me in 2 to 3 weeks, they said. So as soon as I get those bad boys back, we'll be doing unboxing videos. I haven't decided if I'm going to unbox both jerseys together or if I'm going to make 2 separate videos. So like when I get my jersey from Ben H, I will probably unbox them separately, 2 different jerseys. I'll just make different videos, but I'm trying to decide is when I get my customization back from Hockey Authentic if I'm going to unbox them in the same video or not, or also do 2 separate videos with that. I'll decide when I get them, but this is going to be a bit of a long one, so I'm not going to waste any more time. First, before we jump into this, though, I do want to say, if you guys are new to the channel, it would mean a lot if you guys subscribe, show support to me, and like the video if you enjoy. And yeah, what this video is I'm going to be telling you guys new captains for every single team in the NHL who I think it should be. I'm kind of basing this off of longevity and who I think would be a good fit for an organization for a captain. Some teams do not have captains, so I named those teams captains and what I think they should be. But also just for whatever reason, every team's captain just wasn't captain or wasn't in the NHL. These players I have here are who I think should be the next person. So for me, I'm starting off with a kind of controversial one with the Anaheim Ducks, and it's Rickard Rakell. Now the reason I say that's controversial is because he was trade bait. At least people said there was rumors of Rakell being traded before the deadline. If he does re-sign, I think Rakell would be a great fit for a captain after Getzlaf leaves. He's not too old, but he also has some experience, and he's been on the team for a long time. I think he's just the next one up that's not too old, not too young, has some skill, and I think he'd be a good captain. Next up for the Arizona Coyotes was kind of a tough one, but I'm going to pick Nicholas Hjalmarsson. I think he's been a Yote for a long time. He's been on the team for what, like 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And he's a little older, he's 33, but because of that, he has leadership. And I believe he's won a cup with the Blackhawks. Please let me know if I'm wrong with that. But he was on the Blackhawks for like 4 years, I think. And he had to win a cup in that point. So he's got a lot of experience, a lot of veteran leadership. And I think he would be that captain until one of their other younger guys gets up and can be the next captain even after him. For the Boston Bruins, I was kind of thinking Brad Marchand, but he's also a little bit older, so I jumped to David Pastrnak. Now, that's pretty much a self-explanatory pick. He's just so before I say this, I don't always pick the best player to be captain. It just always seems like usually the best player ends up being the captain. But for the Boston Bruins, it kind of is that case. Pasternak's the backbone to the Boston Bruins, in my opinion, and their future. He should be a player that never leaves that team. So in that case, he's a good fit. For the Buffalo Sabres, Dahlin. Now, this one is pretty easy to pick because out of all the outrage at everything that's going wrong with them, with everything that's been going on with the Buffalo Sabres, Dahlin has never been in trade talks. It's always been Jack Eichel, and that's not necessarily what you want from your captain. Dahlin just seems like he puts his head down and just freaking plays the game. He knows he's a good defenseman. He's not whining about not winning like Eichel is. He's just playing the game. He knows he's good, and that's what you need in a leader, in my opinion. Next up for me for the Calgary Flames, I picked Sean Monahan. Now, I think Sean Monahan is easily going to be the captain once Giordano retires. I don't think Monahan's leaving the Calgary Flames. I could be wrong, but I just see him as being one of those backbone players that, like, even if Gaudreau gets traded or some other players get traded, Monahan's not, and he's that age that he's got some veteran leadership, and he's a first line center, and he's been around for a while, and I think he'd be a perfect fit for that C. For the Carolina Hurricanes, it was actually kind of tough, but for me, I picked Sebastian Aho. Like, he is a good player, and I think he could lead very, very well, but for me, the main reason I thought of this, because when I think of the Carolina Hurricanes, sure, some people think Svechnikov or whatever, but my opinion, Aho is the first person that comes to mind when I think of the Carolina Hurricanes. For the Chicago Blackhawks, this one's kind of tough, but I do pick Patrick Kane. I know I said longevity, and he is aging, but he deserves it, in my opinion. If there's anyone that deserves it, no matter their age, it is Patrick Kane. I just think Patrick Kane would be a really, really good captain, and he would only be captain for like, I don't know, 6-7 years until he decides to hang it up. And then you have guys like Alex DeBrincat, who's probably still going to be on the team. And I just think Patrick Kane, it's a no-brainer that he would be the one. Speaking of no-brainers, for the Colorado Avalanche, it's Nathan MacKinnon. That's a no-brainer. He's just one of the best players in the game, so he deserves to have that captaincy if, for whatever reason, Landeskog wasn't captain. I just think there's no one else on that team I would pick other than Nathan MacKinnon. For the Columbus Blue Jackets, I picked Zach Werenski. Not only is he a really, really good player, but I bet you he's a really good teammate. Like, I don't know, but that's just what I see. He does a lot of stuff outside of the game of hockey, which just makes him a leader as well. You see him involved in the gaming scene, NHL gaming scene, playing with like Nasher and all these guys, and that kind of shows some leadership and shows that he cares about the game and not just the actual physical game of hockey, just hockey fans in general. For the Dallas Stars, this was kind of a tough one, but I picked John Klingberg. I think he would be a really, really good captain, and I can't think of anyone else. The only person that kind of came close was Tyler Seguin, but otherwise, I don't know anyone else on Dallas that I would make captain. Speaking of not knowing anyone else, the Detroit Red Wings is tough. There is nobody else on Detroit that I see captain other than Dylan Larkin, so I picked Tyler Bertuzzi. Just a beauty of a guy, you know? I don't know much about Tyler Bertuzzi, but there's not very many choices for Detroit, so he's the guy I lean to. I don't really have a legit, really good reason for it. I just feel like he's going to be a Detroit Red Wing for a long time, so he could be next up. For Edmonton, very self-explanatory. Leon Draisaitl, just, he would deserve it. There is nobody else on the Edmonton Oilers that I would see. The only person that maybe would have a fight is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, just for longevity and how long he's been in Edmonton Oilers, but there is no way you do not make Leon Draisaitl captain at that point. The Florida Panthers is Jonathan Huberdeau. This guy is probably one of the most underrated players in the NHL. He is just super talented and an absolute stud. He would deserve it. And I'm actually kind of surprised he isn't the captain already. For the LA Kings, this is a tough one, but I'm going to pick Alex Iafallo. Now, he signed a new contract, which has him around for 5 years. He's kind of on that older side, but most of the LA Kings are very young players. So having a guy that you know is going to be around for 5 years, and he's probably playing top minutes because LA doesn't have a lot of veteran players, he would be a good captain and be able to lead people, in my opinion. For the Minnesota Wild, it's Matt Dumba. Now, I'm surprised Jared Spurgeon became captain and it wasn't Matt Dumba. You see all this guy does off the ice. It's incredible. The guy is just a natural leader, in my opinion, and he'd be able to corral the troops fantastically. I think the guy is just a natural leader, and I'm surprised he's not captain. For the Montreal Canadiens, this is the guy you think of when you think of Montreal. Brendan Gallagher. I think Brendan Gallagher should be captain when Shea Weber's gone. Brendan Gallagher also signed a contract recently, and I think it was also 5 years. So he's going to be a Montreal Canadian for quite a while, and he has been a Montreal Canadian for forever. So he's just a good fit for captain, in my opinion. Now the Preds, this was kind of tough, but I picked Ekholm. Now, this totally relies on them signing him and not trading him, but he's a cornerstone to their defense. One of their best defensemen. He's been on the team for a while, and he's still young enough that he can continue to be on the team for a long time. He seems like one of those calm, level-headed defensemen that I think would just be really good in the captain position. For the New Jersey Devils is Ryan Murray. I know he's new to the team, but he's also another one of those defensemen like Ekholm that isn't too old but has a lot of experience, and I think if they sign him to a decent contract in New Jersey, he could help some of those young guys and definitely could be a really good captain. Next up for the Islanders is Barzal. Now, I think Barzal should be captain. I'm actually surprised Anders Lee is captain and not Matthew Barzal. Don't get me wrong, I like Lee, but Barzal is just a stud. The kid's talented, and I think he'd be a good fit for the C. For the Rangers, it's Zibanejad. This guy is a stud. Still kind of in his early 30s. He could definitely take that captaincy until he decides to retire and then hand it off to someone like Alexei Lafreniere. When Alexei Lafreniere is like 6 years into the NHL, then he could become captain. I think Zibanejad would be a good fit. For the Ottawa Senators, it's Shabbat. Now, I think Shabbat's going to be captain when Ottawa decides to name a captain finally. Ottawa does not have a captain. And sure, you could think of guys like Brady Tkachuk, but I think Thomas Chabot, kind of one of the first pieces to Ottawa's rebuild. He's older than everyone else now, more experienced. I think he's going to get the C, and he deserves the C. For the Philadelphia Flyers, it's Sean Couturier. This guy is super underrated on Philly, I believe, and I think he would be deserving and willing to get the C. Also, one of those guys that's not too old, but not super young, and he has the mix of experience and also being able to relate to some of the young guys. For the Penguins, it's Rust. Now, I know this might be a tough pick. I know this might be a weird pick, but I think Brian Rust would be a really good captain for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was going to pick Malkin, but he's one of those kind of aging guys that I just don't see why you would give him the C for like 3-4 years and then give it to somebody else. I think Brian Rust would be a really good C, and I don't see him leaving Pittsburgh anytime soon. For the San Jose Sharks, this one was actually tough, but I picked Thomas Hertl. Another stud. When you think of San Jose, he's one of those guys that you think of, just like Kevin Labanc and Timo Meier. But I think Hertl is just one of those guys that you can see it. The guy's just a fun dude. He has a lot of fun out there, and I think he would be a really good level-headed guy and could be a captain. For the St. Louis Blues, it was the runner-up to the O'Reilly captaincy, and that's Tarasenko. I think Tarasenko would be next up when it comes to being a captain for the St. Louis Blues. He's been a St. Louis Blues his whole career since he was drafted, and he would just be deserving of it. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, pretty self-explanatory. It's Nikita Kucherov. The guy's just an absolute stud in the NHL. Never going to leave Tampa Bay, just like Stamkos, and that one's pretty self-explanatory. Another one that's pretty self-explanatory for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's Austin Matthews. I mean, come on, who else would it be? The only player I could see maybe giving a run for its money for Austin Matthews is Morgan Rielly, who's been a longer Leaf. He's older. He's got more experience. He seems like more mature than Austin Matthews, but to me, I would give it to Austin Matthews. For the Vancouver Canucks, it's JT Miller. This guy's a stud. This guy's already a leader, and truthfully, if we had JT Miller like 4 years ago, or even before we named Horvat, JT Miller could have honestly stole that captaincy from Horvat. I like Horvat as a captain, but I think JT Miller would be a really, really good alternative captain for the Canucks. For the Vegas Golden Knights, it's Shea Theodore. This guy's super underrated, one of the most underrated defensemen in the league, in my opinion. You can see he battles hard from what he's gone through. He's a really good defenseman, and I think he's just got a good attitude with him when it comes to the game. So I think he'd make a really good captain for Vegas. For the Washington Capitals, it's Kuznetsov. Go from one Russian, why not go to another one? Kuznetsov's a beast, and yeah, pretty much that's it for that. And for the Winnipeg Jets, another one that's pretty self-explanatory, it's Mark Scheifele, in my opinion. I think he would be the next one up, and he would deserve it as well. Great leader, great guy. He's got a good head on his shoulders, and I like him. So yeah, that is it, you guys. Not a lot of in-depth. There's not really. It's kind of hard because this is all hypothetical. So I was kind of just telling you guys who I think would be good fits in these roles. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys are new to the channel, it would mean a lot if you guys subscribed and liked the video if you enjoyed. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.